guys, welcome back to Hear Me Out. I'm E,
I'm D.
and today we're going to discuss Kimberly Kardashian's SKKY Partners fundraising hurdles. So, I don't know if this is okay to say, but maybe Kimberly can't do it all. I don't know. I know that's messed up. But we're going to read an article from Axios.
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 Mhm.
And of course, give you our opinions on it. Kimberly.
Okay, so this is an article by Dan Primack. Primack. Again, if y'all saw any prior videos, I'm not good with names. So, alrighty. It's been over a year and a half since Kim Kardashian teamed with Carlyle Group vet Jay Sammons to launch SKKY Partners, a consumer-focused private equity firm, but the early buzz has given way to the slog of first-time fundraising. By the numbers, SKKY only secured $121 million in capital commitments through late March, according to federal securities filings. That included nearly $80 million structured as a special purpose vehicle for a minority investment in Truff, a maker of truffle-infused hot sauces that is said to have been valued at around $250 million. SKKY is raising money via rolling closes, having officially launched fundraising in March 2023 without a formal end date. The SPV eventually will be incorporated into the main fund, which features a 20% carried interest as subject to an 8% compound preferred return. Sources say that SKKY may have raised new money in the months since its security filings, or is on the verge of doing so, but it's still a far cry from the $1 to $2 billion goals being floated during pre-market. Behind the scenes, the Boston-based firm's biggest problem is declining LP interest in consumer private equity, which is even more pronounced in a soft fundraising environment. Recall that Carlyle Sammons' old firm said last fall that it would stop consumer deal-making altogether. SKKY also has something of a double-edged sword in Kardashian. On the one hand, she has demonstrated ability to build large consumer brands and can attract the sort of inbound interest that other dealmakers can only dream about. Skims, for example, is now worth $4 billion. On the other hand, she has a surplus of other demands on her time, and her celebrity could cause some institutional investors to flinch at presenting SKKY to stodgy investment committees, particularly those old enough to recall the Elevation Partners / Bono fiasco. Expect family offices to be more amenable. There are also questions about how SKKY would sell companies whose brands have been elevated by Kardashian, given that she'd be exiting. Although the firm has been clear that her role is to be more as a traditional private equity advisor than as a brand ambassador or promoter. Fun fact: Kardashian's stake in the firm is partially held by a vehicle called Favorite Daughter Inc. The bottom line: SKKY, which declined to comment, has put together a strong team according to both LPs and peers, but those investors can't really cook until they get more money in the pantry. Well, what do we think about this? This is interesting. I hadn't heard much about SKKY Partners. This is why.
Well, clearly it's been struggling. If they were supposed to raise $1 to $2 billion and they have only 121 million, we're making it sounds like it's, pennies over here, but to them,
Right.
this is like big fundraising. I thought that Kimberly thinks that this was going to be probably an easy kind of venture. I don't
Mhm.
think it's fair to compare Skims to SKKY Partners. You know, anything financial is just so much more robust. You have to follow, these certain guidelines. They have to report the securities. It's just a big hassle. And we know that Kim is not, I'm gonna say it in the nicest way, a businesswoman in the sense that she has deep, thorough knowledge of private equity, has been in the business, done these transactions, see how things work. Skims, on the other hand, is more of a personal brand. I mean,
Mhm.
she's a woman. We all know about shapewear. She's perfected it. It goes in line with her own brand. She's has been able to elevate it to $4 billion. I can
Mhm.
see why. But with SKKY Partners, I think, it's attracting a certain kind of demographic. Maybe they're dealing with suit and tie kind of man, you
Mhm.
know, very domineering, very business is very male centered in my opinion. I'm in the business world. So for a woman to really penetrate and be heard and listened to, I think it's difficult. And we know that Kim has a lot of business ventures overall besides Skims. So I don't think that she's probably spending enough time offering enough ideas. If she has any ideas, I don't know how heavy she is relying on
Salmons, I think.
Jay Sammons. So I don't know. I don't know what the future is for these businesses, but hopefully they can do some fundraising because these businesses are relying on it.
I remember reading something, I don't know if it was last year, and then I think Kim touched on it briefly maybe during one of the episodes of The Kardashian, how essentially with the private equity firm, they were buying up these companies that were struggling, and then trying to like revitalize them and then sell them. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
So what I what I always wondered about that was how it was going to work, because as far as I know, um there hasn't been much, like, I guess, marketing that she's done necessarily for some of these companies. And even if she's not obviously like the marketing arm of the private equity, wouldn't she still kind of promote to an extent these companies? Because I get that there is this sort of line, right, where, like you said, the equity world, the business world, it's so patriarchal, it's so male dominated. But we know that obviously Kim has been successful in branching out, has been successful in her business endeavors. I mean, she has a partnership with the NBA, a sponsorship partnership with the NBA for Skims. So I think she has some, at least some business savvy. So
Mhm.
I wonder how, like, if there was maybe it wasn't able to translate properly, coming into this sort of business realm, um because it's not, like you said, Skim was like a personal situation company that she created, whereas in this sense, you're buying companies that you don't really know, that are already created, and then you're trying to like kind of turn them back out to make a profit, right? Like,
Mhm.
how I feel like there'd be a disconnect, considering that she seems to have, um very early on in her career, when she was doing those early brand deals, when she was doing those early sponsorships, and she was like signing her name onto everything, she said that failed for her. So isn't this kind of just like the same thing on a bigger scale?
Mm, that's a good point. I think this is just so much more different because I mean, I don't know how well versed she is with financials and looking at the profitability of these companies, or, their potential, their valuation. Um, and I think that's probably the disconnect there. You
Mhm.
brought up
Mhm.
a good point. She's not thoroughly invested, as in she knows the intricacies of that business. At least we don't think so. I don't think so.
Right.
So I think there's a challenge there to connect with the brand, to promote the brand. And I think ultimately she wants to promote herself over these brands. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
there's only so much space for promotion.
Right.
So, but
Yeah.
on the other side of the spectrum, Serena Williams also has a private equity company, and her VC fund has invested in 14 companies that have gone on to reach unicorn status, a
Wow.
value of 1 billion or more.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, that's cool.
Let's see. So, following her retirement in September 2022, William focused more of her attention on the investment arena. With over a decade of investment experience, she took a pivotal step in 2014 by establishing Serena Ventures, a venture capital fund specifically designed to champion women and underrepresented founders, according to its LinkedIn profile. So, Serena, on the other hand, I
Yeah.
guess she did have this experience and now it's reached unicorn status.
That's amazing. And so, guys, of course, E and I talk off camera, and we'd had a brief discussion about some of this, and in particular, how for me personally, I didn't really understand why Kim Kardashian went into the VC world. Um, but then E questioned, well, Serena did. Is that not the same thing? And I recall that I mentioned that for me, the reason why I was okay with Serena going into that realm is because of what her purpose was, right? The fact that it was for this particular reason. And I think when you have a more focus driven purpose, as far as like what you intend to do and how you intend to do it and for who you intend to do it for, it's different than you wanting to join or you wanting to create a private equity company to boost your portfolio. I don't feel that there was any kind of story from Kim, and not that there needs to be one, right? But like there felt like a disconnect between like when Kim said that and everything, and then when it was announced that Serena was doing one, because it was about on Serena's end, minority, predominantly minority businesses and women owned businesses and things like that. So I think there's definitely a lot to be said about the fact that one is succeeding while the other isn't, and there's a more of a purpose on one end than there is to the other, I think. And like you
Mhm.
said, Kim is gonna be more about her brand and her exposure and promoting herself. And so the other thing, right now that you said how like for Serena after she retired, she went into this. See, like that makes sense to me because that means she has the time for it. She's not still splitting her time between being a pro tennis player, being a mom, being this, being that, and then trying to do, going into the VC world. Whereas Kim Kardashian, as we have repeatedly discussed on multiple videos, the woman doesn't stop. So where do you have the time to really
Mhm.
focus on something like this? Because I feel like this is really intricate work. This is very business centric work that you can't just kind of like, hey guys, what are we doing here? Like, there's more, I feel that would kind of go into that. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying she didn't do the work, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So, just to elaborate on Serena, there's this Yahoo Finance article, and she says, I invest in a lot of companies, early companies, and I've always done this. I've actually been investing for over 14 years and just been an entrepreneur while I was playing tennis. It's super important to me to make a plan B while I was doing my plan A, William explained in a TikTok video. So, she has 14 years under her belt
That's
investing in
crazy.
these early companies. So she has had time to, see them grow, see their potential, know
Mm-hmm.
what they're about. She's done this multiple times, obviously, for more than a decade. Um, we really haven't heard Kim, do something like that besides their
Yeah.
personal brands. And again, this is not us pinning Serena against Kim. It's just doing the comparison about this particular business venture or this realm that they have dove into.
Yeah.
Uh, but Serena's doing great things and is helping the community, our people. So
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Do you think Kim is going to continue doing this she's not successful?
Um, I think we're not gonna know, not anytime soon, if she's gonna stop. I think that um unless a statement is put out where it's mutually agreed to part ways, blah blah blah, like, or Kim is taking a step back, or Kim is gonna be much further back behind the scenes, things like that. And then
Hmm.
eventually we'll learn that she has nothing to do with it anymore. I think it kind of feels like it could go into that realm, primarily because it's unfortunate. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because again, like we've talked about in multiple videos, Kim is a great businesswoman. We cannot take that away from her. And I know that people have their qualms about her and the way she's done certain things. We get that. But
Mhm.
in the fact of the matter, right? Like in the whole sense, she has created companies that have been successful. And as we've seen within her own family, not everybody can do the same thing, right? We've seen Kylie's businesses not doing so well, and she has tried her hand at a plethora of things, whereas Kim continues to try different things, and they seem to be still working out for her. So we know that she is someone that at least has the business acumen to make things successful, right? However, she also, like the article mentioned, people don't want to associate necessarily with her or with her brand, which is, again, it's an unfortunate thing because I think she's tried for a very long time to work at getting away from having some sort of stigma attached to her. But that still follows her. And in business, especially like you mentioned, it being so male driven, so male centric, it's hard for that to like go away. And so I think that there's a likelier chance that there will be a continuation of issues with her private equity. And eventually, yeah, she may have to step away in order for that company itself on its own without her to be successful.
Ditto. Guys, let us know what you think in the comments. Should Kim just, and I say this in the nicest way, just stick to what she knows, her businesses. We've seen her in American Horror Story, so she's now acting. We covered, I think, on today's video, which is Friday the 26th, a Calabasas
Oh
show
yeah.
on Netflix. So she's going
Producing.
executive producing. So
Yeah.
now she's jumping ship to the Hollywood world on the back scenes or
Mm-hmm.
the front, acting. So she has a lot of going on. Should she even do Sky Partners? I mean, it's not for us to decide, but what do you think?
Right.
Know in the comments. But if you haven't already done so, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Also, please share our video. We're trying to grow our community so your friends can be our friends so we can all be friends. We also have social media, which C will tell you about.
We are on TikTok and Instagram at Hear Me Out DNE. So make sure you guys like, follow, share, and comment. You can also listen to the videos in podcast format via YouTube Music and Spotify.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.